Hello, Jarv.
Hey.
How are you this fine Thursday?
Okay, can't complain.
Sorry I couldn't get that merge request pushed out any further.
No worries. I think it'll happen today.
Hello.
Hello.
Cool. Welcome. The first demo of the year. So let's get started. So blockers are looking pretty good. So on the first one, the structured logging. So I left a note. I linked in a note for Epic 20, and it looks well. And my question is, does this unblock us?
It will unblock us. It looks like it's still greatly in progress.
Are you sure?
But we don't, for WebSockets in particular, I guess it kind of depends on ActionCable to know how much additional logging to expect and whether this is going to cause problems for the cluster. For non-ActionCable, it doesn't matter because that WebSockets traffic is already going to the Git, is already been going to the Git node pool, and it just isn't a lot, so it's not going to cause a problem for logging. I guess we can just say this is a risk for WebSockets ActionCable and monitor it during the rollout because we'll be doing a percentage rollout with the feature flag, and we can kind of see, we can gauge like how much of a logging impact it is. I don't know. What do you think, Scarback?
I think it's fine if we move forward with WebSockets. I'd be nervous to move forward with API.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think this is a blocker for API. At least API main stage. We can go to Canary, but definitely not main stage.
I failed to note this as a blocker for the API epic, so I will do that now.
One question I had, so on the comment that Robert's left, so he says like step 1, it's completed, and step 2, there's nothing we can do. And he says this will unblock us. So what else do we need for this?
What are you reading?
This note, it's linked under
one that I've highlighted.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't sound like there's any active work going on.
So I'm taking a look at what we have now. Let me share my screen. So it looks like Baloo has a new merge request. We originally merged this, right? And then it caused problems. So we reverted it.
Yeah.
And so now we have one that uses an environment variable to turn it on. I haven't reviewed this myself yet, but hopefully we can get this done soon. And then once we have that, then, I mean, I guess this comment is 3 weeks old, so it's a bit, I'm not sure if this was made before. And I'm not sure whether Robert Marshall is sort of working on this right now. And I assume he isn't. How about we just take an action to talk to the distribution team and come up with a plan for this? I just really haven't been following this closely.
Me neither.
Actually, Scarback, do you mind doing that?
Yeah, I could do that.
since it sounds like you're already involved with it.
It looks like the work for the GitLab web service container should have already been completed. So I'll have to review that. So yeah, I'll take an action item to review this. I think what if everything works or looks as desired, we'll probably figure out that we need to simply upgrade our helm chart. Maybe not even that, because this work looks like it was in CNG. So I'll review things and we'll come back to it. I'll try to do that today.
Awesome. Cool. And Andrew is still out, so there's probably not much update here, but the labels stuff, the charts bit is scheduled for 13.8, and whatever this one is. Oh, the deployment label. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
So I think where we stand here is that a lot of we added saturation metrics for Kubernetes. You can see CPU, memory, in like the drill down details on the dashboards. We are missing the top level saturation metric, which is missing for Git. So we opened up an issue for that. I need to talk to Andrew when he comes back or dig into it myself. We're also still missing the HBA saturation, which is what one of these issues is for, which is to tell like when we are saturated for scaling. Like for example, we hit our max pods and we can't scale anymore. I think for as far as where this positions us for WebSockets and API, for WebSockets, we're going to create a new service, which means adding a new service to the service catalog. My plan here is that part of the readiness is going to be ensuring that we have the dashboard working for staging, and then everyone can just like nod their heads and say like this is good enough for prod. For API, I think we'll need to do a little bit more work, and that will involve talking to Andrew as well. So, but this won't start until next week.
I'm already working on whatever chart necessary changes need to happen to add the labels that are missing. That's currently in review. I got some feedback that I need to go back and forth on, but hopefully that will unblock Andrew and then he could start creating the necessary queries for us.
Awesome. Is that this one down here, Skabek?
It's issue 2465.
Is that what, do you know if that is the one Andrew was referencing here?
What is he referencing? No, the issue that I'm working on is, where'd it go? This one, copy. I'll just put it at the bottom. That issue right there, that's the one that we created to address the need to add the labels to various parts of our chart. And that's the issue that I pulled to do just that. So I started with the GitLab shell. I plan to move through all the charts after I get at least one out the door.
Awesome. Sounds good.
There's quite a few charts that need to be touched, so it'll take a little bit of time.
Do you
Hopefully
need any
go faster?
Do you need any help? Here's the one Andrew raised.
No, it's in review. I just need to go back and forth with the review.
Cool. I think it might be this one, but we can ask Andrew next week. Cool. And then the only other one we've got on the list is pages, and that is progressing. So on E, there's the latest comment with the progress, but also on the top of the epic, there's a kind of a progress plan and what's coming up next. So that is moving along.
I'm wondering what the chances are we'll get to pages in the next quarter.
Us or them?
Well,
Us. Like
Hi,
assuming.
What do we have? Like, what can we see between where we are now? Obviously, API and
and web.
pages.
Yeah, API and web. Unless if we decide to do pages after API.
we'll also have the Kubernetes agent that we're working on too.
Well, let's try to remain optimistic.
Cool.
It looks like
Okay.
they've got a due date set for May of this year.
Oh, really? Like as far
Yeah.
as like migrating all the data and everything?
On Epic 13.16, which is the overall Epic, has a due date of May 2021.
Well, in that case, then no, not next quarter.
There's two parts to this though, right? Like, because it's self-managed as well as .com.
Yeah. I mean, for us to migrate the service to Kubernetes, we need to have full support. And also we need to migrate all of the existing data to object storage.
Cool. So it might fit well then, right? If we're assuming we're doing web after API, and then that might line up.
Yeah. Cool. I wanted to run through the labeled issues because I think there's been some additions since our last meeting. And I added a couple. One of them is that I discovered this morning that we're missing this unicorn sampler interval from the monitoring section of GitLab YAML. This isn't supported in the charts. It is supported in Omnibus. We set it to 10 seconds, or no, we set it to 5 seconds, but the default is 10. I'm going to suggest that we just update the application default to be what we've been running on GitLab.com for like a year now. So hopefully if that happens, then there won't be any charts change necessary, although it might be good to be able to configure it.
What does that one, why do we need to use that? Like, could we put in a kind of just an overview of what this does to help Andrew and I schedule?
Yeah, this is for Prometheus metrics, and it's how often metrics are sampled from the application. So this happens like every 10 seconds currently by default. There was a change made a year ago by Ben, which I guess like I have an outstanding comment to Ben to understand a little bit better why this was reduced from 10 to 5 seconds. But currently there's a divergence in our configuration between VMs and Kubernetes. And I don't like it. Like I want to make sure that we're the same.
Yeah.
So I guess like I'll wait till Ben gets back to us. I already have the MR to change the application default. So it's just a matter of getting it maintainer reviewed and merged if that's the direction we go. It's not a big blocker, but I just added it to the list. The second one I added is our nginx bypass issue, and this is being able to set the load balancer type for the web service so that we can bypass nginx. I'm upgrading this to a blocker because I'm thinking more and more this is the direction we're going to go for future migrations, that we're not going to use the nginx ingress. Of course, we'll have to see. We'll test this on WebSockets first, but I mean, we're really close to getting this MR merged. I don't think there are no outstanding comments. I'm basically just waiting for a maintainer approval. So I expect this to happen today. Skybeck, this is yours.
Yep, that's the one we just talked about.
Yes. GitLab pages, cloud native support, and proxy request buffering. So I guess like if nginx goes poof, then this goes poof because we won't be using nginx anymore. That's the dream, but you know, we'll see what happens.
Cool. Okay, that sounds good. We can revisit that one.
But anyway, actually, with this issue, perhaps we should just close this because Scarback, right? We can set annotations per service now with the split configuration. So I'm not sure, like, I think this issue, the thought of this issue was like, we should make it the default in the chart if it's what we're doing for GitLab.com, but I think like I'm gonna remove this as a blocker. Cool, and that's it for
Nice.
that. I can talk briefly about the Helm 3 progress, just as kind of an overview. It was a bit hairy for GitLab Helm files because of Prometheus operator, because we needed to upgrade the chart. I would say most of the hairiness happened on pre-prod, which was nice because you know, it didn't cause any problems or interrupt anyone. Once we got through that hairiness, then we moved to staging, and that went fairly smoothly. I'm in the process of upgrading the ops cluster now, just waiting for an MR approval, and that'll be done. Then I'll move to the CI cluster. Hopefully there will be no issues there. And then after that, we just need to do staging. What's the current progress of the security release? Are we kind of past the point where we need to be careful?
So the only question at the moment is we have a patch to put out after the security release. So hopefully we'll be able to get the security release wrapped up before too long. Packages are still building right now. Once that's done, once we've got the security release, hopefully Myra will be able to get the patch started today. We can get that wrapped up in the morning, and then yeah, you'll be free to go on staging.
Well, for the patch release, it actually, I don't think there's anything that this doesn't impact the patch release at all, because the patch release is only going to the release. It's not being deployed to staging.
That's true. Yeah, it goes on that
So
branch.
maybe,
yeah. Right.
So in that case, can I just go ahead and talk to, I don't think Myra's online yet, right? Or maybe she is, but see if we can start it now.
Let's just make sure these packages build. I think once the packages are, well, let's just make sure they publish. I think once we start to publish, then we're probably quite safe. And then, yeah, I think it's probably fine.
Great.
And do you have a sort of rough schedule? So assuming we can get staging done this week, are you thinking like Monday for production, or how long do you want to wait?
Yeah, I just put it right in the agenda here. So I'm thinking, will we done on Monday with this epic? Like we can close out the epic Monday, staging today, production Monday, and I'm planning to finish up the ops and CI clusters today, worst case tomorrow.
Nice. Sounds good.
I wanted to also talk briefly about the nginx controller upgrade. Scarbeck, are you willing to take it on?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I could do that.
Think we should do it next week?
Sure. Why not?
I wish I had a better sense of what the impact is going to be. Like, I assume it's no downtime, but what do you think?
Oh, it's probably going to be a downtime. I'm pretty sure everything gets recreated. So I had to do our zonal clusters one at a time.
Why do you think that? Like, why wouldn't just the controller pods be added and, you know?
It might be a rolling upgrade. I guess my fear was that there was going to be a change to the service. And with that service change, it was going to destroy and recreate the endpoint. I thought that was part of the situation that we were trying to combat. Maybe I'm misremembering something. But we've got an issue to test it in pre-prod, so I will certainly do it there first to validate that it's that's not going to be a problem. Or if it is going to be a problem, we could handle that appropriately. Luckily, we have zonal clusters, so if there is a blip in the service, we could always take it out of rotation, perform the upgrade, throw it back into rotation, keep going.
Yeah, but that turns it from like a 2-hour task to a 2-day task.
Accurate.
It sucks, you know. Okay.
But yeah, I
And
could
so
certainly do it.
remind me what the what this blocks. If what do we need to do this nginx upgrade ahead of?
Uh-huh. The biggest thing for me the biggest thing for me personally, I think, is the fact that we have diverged on charts. So we can't take master anymore. So as we're like making improvements to charts, we have to always like pick them into our forked branch, which really sucks. I guess like there is the possibility that, you know, when we bypass nginx, this problem really goes away. Skyback, I was thinking about this, and what happens if we change this, like for the transition, if we decide to transition to a service type of load balancer, can we do that seamlessly, or is that going to be another one of these things where we have to do it one cluster at a time?
I think we could do it seamlessly because we'll still have the service available to us, the nginx service. So we'll just add a new endpoint in HA proxy for each of the clusters. And then we could, if we want, play with the weights if necessary to make sure that we're not causing a problem. And then we could just turn down the nginx service endpoint and then eventually remove them.
And we can upgrade it after that.
Yeah.
So I think one potential way to get out of this would be I get my MR merged today. We pick it onto our production branch. We test it out for WebSockets, and then we consider even using it for Git HTTPS.
Yeah.
And then the nginx upgrade thing is like not
Just
issue.
goes away. We could
Yeah.
probably disable it entirely if it works well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's keep that
That'd
as
be
an
pretty
open.
nice.
Yeah, let's keep that as an option. I guess what we could even do for the we could even like test this out on Canary for a while, like to be on the safe side, right? We could just use the load balancer service type on Canary, see how that works. If that works, I think I would feel pretty confident. Like I don't
Yeah.
see any big risks here.
Yeah. The one thing I would love to be able to see is a comparison because we've got that issue that Amy just reopened about the clusters that randomly get dropped out of HA proxy. Like
Yes.
they're seemingly failing health checks.
Yeah.
I looked at that yesterday, and the last occurrence I solved this happened on the 31st of December, but it was only like one node picked one cluster and said it was down for a very short period of time. So it's like 3 health checks failed, and then it was back
Yeah.
up the 4th health check, which was kind of bizarre. But I'm curious if we could do a comparison between the nginx service endpoint and the non-nginx service endpoint, just to see if there's a difference in behavior there.
Yeah, I mean, actually, we could just like we could configure it on one cluster or 2 clusters and run in like split.
Yep.
So that could be one way we could test it out. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing like whether this problem goes away and that our drops were due to nginx, and also this other issue, this like long
Failed to
running.
clone. Yeah.
Yeah, this long-running production incident, which I think is no longer an incident, that was like intermittent errors on cloning, which we don't even know if it's like Giddily or nginx, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guarantee you it's probably a situation where CI fails, but the request still gets retried behind the scenes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I think that's pretty much all I got.
So yeah, you and I will just have to work together just to make sure we're not stopping on each other for the nginx stuff, which is fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, how are you two just going to kind of coordinate on that and make a call about
Yeah.
whether we go ahead with the upgrade or not?
Yeah. I mean, I need to wait anyways because with the Helm 3 upgrade needs to be completed across the board anyway, so I can't start that yet anyways.
You've got till Monday. Cool. Okay. And is there anything we need to do to help out with WebSockets or ActionCable?
Yeah. So out of the, share my screen again. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Amy, because I completely forgot. I asked the developers to open up an issue because of our lack of ActionCable Prometheus metrics. And this is what I see as like the only like big thing to come out of the readiness review. The issue is that the metrics that we have right now are only cover the protocol upgrade for the WebSockets connection, but that's all we get. So there's very little visibility into errors, for example, through Prometheus. I think we're kind of limited to logs here. I don't think it was a big surprise, but I told them that at least we need to have this issue open and kind of discuss it before we move forward with prod. Other than this, I think we are pretty good with the readiness. I have an MR Scarbeck for the readiness review. I think I'll send it to you today for review. And then for the issue, which was like supposed to be driven by development, but like we have the architecture, and then I think I'll just try to answer these questions as much as possible and then close it out. I don't know, like whether we really need a special run book for this, Scarbeck. Like, I mean, because we're just running Rails. It's not a new thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it where we stand now. We're started to bring up the infrastructure. I think Scarbeck, you brought up the node pools yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said before, my plan here is to get this running in staging and then add it to the service catalog, make sure we're okay with the monitoring. And then if we are, then we can move forward.
Cool. Who needs to add the Prometheus metrics?
I don't know.
Like who would normally do that? Would that normally be like the people creating the thing, or like is there a team?
Yeah, it should be the team. Which team is responsible for ActionCable?
Yeah, I think so. I think we should make sure that happens before we go ahead and put this into production, because I feel like it's going to be on-call engineers who feel the most pain from this, and I think once something's up and running in production, it's really hard to prioritize going back and adding metrics for not really seeing much benefit. So I think we should set this as a requirement for enabling.
So it's added. Yeah, it's added to this epic, which is like the master epic that tracks the real-time updates. So
could we just add the Kubernetes blocker label to it?
Yeah, I guess like we need to, yeah, I mean, I didn't think that this would be a blocker, but if we want to change it to a blocker, maybe we should have a discussion with development to kind of scope out the work to see what's going to be involved. I know that like Sid asked about this feature in the last development group conversation, and there's a lot of attention on it, and there's a lot of like frustration that it hasn't happened already.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not saying that's a reason. Not saying that's a reason,
no,
but we have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. I think just with this one, I I think we need to make sure there's definitely a commitment to schedule this and get it done. Otherwise, it's just going to sit in a backlog, I fear. So yeah, let's have a chat and make sure that the developers know, or at least we absolutely know, like what needs to happen and who's going to do it and when it's scheduled for.
That sounds good. I'll maybe we can bring this to Andrew's attention as well.
Yeah, that's also a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. I'll just add this to the agenda here. So Amy, I guess you and I can just work together to see who, like, I don't know. Do you have a regular meeting with Andrew?
I actually have one next week. Yeah, so I can double check to Andrew about that. So tell you what, so if you just get it, like, make sure it's scoped out, like what we'd actually need, then I can find someone to get it scheduled.
Okay, that sounds good.
Fantastic. Is there anything else? Is there anything, Rehab, you'd like us to cover or share? You kindly joined us today.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just sitting here trying to understand what you're saying, really. But yeah, I think it's an interesting meeting. I'm only starting to learn the details of Kubernetes. So to see in action is a different story. Yeah.
Yes, that is true. Awesome. Is there anything else anyone wants to cover?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Cool. Okay, that's great. Thanks very much, everyone.
Cool.
Speak to you soon.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Bye.